Hey, Tyler Ross here with Brandon at Traveling Shepherd Coffee, and we've been talking for the last 5, 10 minutes already. I wish we had been recording already. You guys, if you haven't stopped and talked to Brandon, you're missing out. Brandon, tell me what's Traveling Shepherd Coffee?
So basically, the concept is to share the world experience of coffee. As I roamed around, tell people I've been to about 500 to 1,000 Catholic churches. And as I would roam around, I always wanted a way to share my travels with people. And I started to see coffee was that common thing that we all have in common to share. Because being a travel agent would have been cool, but it's not an easy thing to get started. And so that's where I started to learn all these different cultural traditions through the different countries and cultures of people I spent time with. And so now currently I do 11 cultural traditions with 45 different countries of beans. And goal is to kind of give a world experience of what coffee's like.
So well, let's see, why coffee? Why now? Because you started this business during the pandemic. Like, tell me a little bit about yourself leading up to that point, and why did you pull the trigger to
So
do
it was
coffee?
it was a series of events that I always liked the idea of gathering people around. And when I discovered Ethiopian coffee ceremony, I always liked their concept where they like monks would pray 4 times a day. Ethiopians do this coffee ceremony where they roast coffee fresh 4 times a day, and then they sit around and eat popcorn while drinking coffee. And the goal of it is to take a break with each other and stop the business of life and have conversation. And after working in some coffee shops previously and seeing that in its own respect as well, I wanted to create a business that was laid back, that allows for conversation and people connecting. And my background was pizza. And when you're trying to get pizzas to people's houses in 30 minutes, you don't always really have the best time to really sit back and relax. And then working for corporations and budgets, God forbid you waste $1 extra on labor, hanging out, talking to customers. I just wanted a laid back environment. And I saw a coffee shop being that. And also, I always liked the bar atmosphere. I just didn't like the dysfunction of it. And so, having 2 DUIs in my past when I was younger, and another friend of mine, we used to always be like, we want to do a sober bar. And when I started to see all those dots connecting with the coffee shop experience, that's what led me. I was like, I finally found the perfect, balance of things. And it just, and I see it every day now, just hanging out. You see people, they take their time once a week to come see me, 5, 10 minutes to hang out, shoot the breeze and talk about whatever's on their mind. And I say it's cool because I've seen 2 conversations I've reflected on a lot lately, which motivates why I do what I do. Was one was 2 guys, they were neighbors, and the guy just happened to recognize the guy's truck that he has for his business. And he's like, "Oh, you live in my neighborhood?" And he's like, "Oh, we do." And they get to talk, and next you know, they realize that they're fishing with each other, that they both like fishing, and they decide to schedule a fishing trip with each other. Meanwhile, they live houses from each other and never had that conversation. And they just happened to meet. And I had another situation where I like to say one of the guys in one of my areas, he had run for the local delegate spot for the state on the Republican side. And then I had another kid who has shared with me that he's an open socialist. And so you got these 2 people with all the political tensions right now on opposite sides of the spectrum that didn't know anything about each other. But the 3 of us just had this respectable conversation where by the end, the socialist kid's like, "Oh, he was an interesting guy." And the candidate guy was, I enjoy having conversations like this. And so it was really, again, a balance to where it's like, this is what I want, just to get people to see that we have a lot more in common than we have in difference. And that's why I chose coffee, because the majority of the world drinks coffee, and it's something that we all have in common that we can, build a bridge with each other, basically.
That's beautiful. And talking with you, you're obviously a person that appreciates and empathizes and enjoys other people and other perspectives and all of this. So, assuming that this is your first startup business,
Mhm.
how are you? Have you gotten to go do a farmer's market yet with the pandemic
Yep.
behind us now? Tell me about your experience at the farmers markets.
Yeah, so the whole thing when I started the business, my background is managing different Papa John's and Domino's, primarily stores that lost money. Over my career, I had 33 different stores I ran, and 31 of them I turned around successfully.
Wow.
And so it got to the point where I knew how to build a business. I just needed to do it for myself finally. And so from 2018 to May of 2020 was the development process where everyone kept telling me to sell sooner, but I wanted to develop things to make sure that, your reputation is everything. And so the last thing I want to do is just jump into something and make bad coffee. And so once May did roll around, in that first year of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I did a combined of 10 different markets over the span of that year. I started out with a set of 6, and then as those ended, I got invited to others. And as I started doing the other ones, I only had 1 remaining from my original 6 schedule. And Warrenton was actually the second one from that original year that I kept. Actually, I should say, yeah, 2 of them I kept. And then I found 2 more spots along the way. And the cool thing with the farmers markets too was, I tell everyone, they always say don't block your blessings. And so my first market that I only kept from my original schedule is this one in Annandale. And it's because of that market I'm actually at Warrenton. It's a cool story I always love to share with people, because Shikari Farms, they're one of the original Warrenton people. And I happen to get put next to them in Annandale. And before Annandale, I actually wanted to be in Herndon because that's where I live. Thursday market is in Herndon. And I wanted to be in my neighborhood because it was the natural thing to do. And they're like, we don't accept applications for Herndon because there's already a coffee shop in the area. And so immediately I was like, no, I don't want to do any more markets. I'm not interested in Annandale, never mind. And then the next day after I took a step back and thought, I'm like, just take it. Don't block your blessings. Maybe there's a bigger purpose. And so then they put me next to Shikari Farms, and they're like, next week we'll put you on the other side, but we're just going to put you next to them for this week. Then come to find out, they just like, if you're okay, we'll leave you next to them. And because of that, I became friends with both Sabri and Emmy, who ironically as well is a very busy woman, but just happened to be helping her dad at the time because of COVID, and she wasn't able to do her normal job as a sailor. We became friends. Eventually they're like, hey, we do Warrenton market. You should consider coming out there. We need a coffee guy. And they made the connection with Natalie, and the rest was history. And it's become my #1 spot to be, so much so to the point that my wife and I are looking at the possibility of moving out towards that way when we find the right situation that works for everything. So it's kind of, and now I do 3 farmers markets a week, and I have a street corner that I found here in Reston that I do, and I've got a loyal following. And those are now my 4 staple spots that I hope to be at for a long time, because like I'd say, they're like my friends out there. And people are like, are you going to go somewhere else in the future? I'm like, you don't just leave your friends when they come to see you every week, you show up at that point there. And that's really what it's become now.
That's super cool. I give Brandy at the town an awful lot of credit for helping getting the farmers market kicking butt again. And I'm really impressed with the way it looks and is run, and everybody does a great job. Tell me, as someone who's been going to the Warrenton's farmers market now, tell me one of your favorite vendors to visit and shop at.
So it's more of my wife. I tell people when I'm there, I'm there to conduct business. And most of the time I'm honestly too busy to even get around to see anyone. During the winter markets, the first time I've really gotten to roam around and actually see other vendors. Everyone's like, oh, you must be slow because we never see you walking around. And again, that's just the winter market. Not as everyone comes out. So I don't always have the most time. She loves it when she gets to shop. Of course, she loves to visit Shikari Farms and get whatever spices. For me personally, I actually use their cinnamon for my Mexican coffee. So, and I see them at my Alexandria market as well. So we're very close in that respect, in Annandale. St. Anthony's, of course, I tell people they're some of my favorites. My patron saint is St. Anthony. So it was, again, one of those ironies when Natalie said, I'm going to put you next to St. Anthony's, like of all people for her to put me next to, it was just a little sign like, this is where you belong. And so there are some of my favorites there. But I've had so many things now. I mean, the bagel guy is amazing. Of course, Josh with his biscuits. We've developed a very strong relationship, and we compete for the longest lines. I like to joke. I get the pickles from time to time from Badass Pickles.
Badass, yeah.
And then I've just recently got the Poppy's hot sauce for the first time and made the chili. Of course, I say the Backroads Bagels guys, I enjoy him. I met him at another market, and since then he's been there regularly, and I'm having to watch the amount of carbs that I'm consuming between the biscuits and everything. But I'd say Sierra Linda Farm, we have a blast. I try different meats from them, not every week, but quite frequently, every other week or so, or every week it's like, all right, Matt, pick your experimentation and what should I try this week here? So like last week I had the Korean ribs. We had a London broil a couple weeks ago. So always, changing up and trying to try everyone as much as possible. And again, that's why I leave most of that to my wife when she's there. She makes her rounds and finds different things, brings it home, and is like, I got this and that there. So
Cool,
yeah.
very cool. So that's, excuse me. The, what, do you have a coffee that you tend to gravitate towards when it's time
Prefer
for caffeine?
So everybody asks me that, and honestly, I prefer them all, which is why I carry them all. Like I so you have some countries like Ethiopia, if I'm correct, has like 10,000 different varieties of coffee, like way wider range than wine. And it's one of those things where obviously I can't carry them all, and so I always try to carry what I find to be my favorite tasting of them all for each country. Ethiopia, I'm always impartial to, especially the traditional one, the Jabina. Everybody's afraid to drink it because it's similar to Turkish coffee where it's unfiltered, but it's so flavorful that you never need cream and sugar. It was the first coffee that I drank where I'm tasting citrus notes and was like, I didn't know coffee tastes like this. And that's what lit the passion. Like, I got to learn how to roast because this is nothing like I've ever had before. And even my brother-in-law, one time I made it for him and he's like, would you be offended if I put cream and sugar? I'm like, do whatever you want. It's your coffee. Just give it a sip. And then I watched him. He drank the whole thing without putting it in it. And so if there's one that I'll always say that stands above them all, Ethiopian is probably going to be the one that stands above them all. But at the end of the day, everything, my two like favorite amazing tasting coffees, I had a Colombian geisha last year, which unfortunately with logistics and inflated costs, I don't have this year because it just was not going to be reasonably priced, but it was everybody's favorite. And currently Yemen is the other one that's everybody's favorite. It just has these bright notes to it that you don't taste in your average coffee. So those would probably be my three, like my top three of the ones that really stand out. But it's hard to, it's like they say kids, your favorite kid is the one that you're holding at the moment. And that's kind of the way the coffee is. Like each one, you're like, oh, this one's so good. It's they all have their own little uniqueness to it there.
Very cool. Tell me about the evolution of your business. I mean, it's new, so you probably started with a handful of beans in the oven, and now you've graduated to somewhere else. Like, tell me quickly about that evolution to where you are now.
So the way it really evolved the quickest was, so I did Uber in 2018. I was doing Uber in New Jersey, and I had a bunch of regular customers that would just request me, and I'd go pick them up, and they became my testing my market
Yeah,
focus basically. And one of
cool.
them I always like to credit was he now works as the chief of staff for MLS soccer. He's worked in the Major League Soccer office for a while. He's the commissioner's right hand man. But when he was my customer, he lived a couple doors down from me in Jersey, and he was the president and general manager of Chicago Fire. Not even knowing the guy, I would just every morning I'd pick him up at 3:45 on Monday. He'd catch his flight to Chicago out of Newark, and I'd try this coffee, try that one. And so he'd always give me his honest feedback, and we'd talk business, and he'd be like, oh, that one needs cream and sugar. Like when I first roasted when I made Turkish for him, and when I did my Vietnamese coffee that I brought back from Vietnam, it's a very dark, heavy coffee. That's why they use the condensed milk. And he's like, oh, that needs cream and sugar. But then I got him to try Brazilian pea berry, and it had a very nice sweet taste. And he's like, this one's a winner. Now you need to sell it. And just like that kind of stuff was what motivated me as I would have him try different things. And then, as I say, once I started to see the cultural appreciation for things, like there's a Brazilian community in Jersey, and so I was motivated to make Brazilian style coffee like I had in Brazil that time. So every time I'd be in the area, I'm like, hey, I got Brazilian coffee. They tell me what you think. And so those are the things that really challenged me to evolve to make sure I made things consistently. Turkish coffee, I would use that as a great example. There's a person in the area that loves to share Turkish culture with people.
Mhm.
And I originally met her at the Coffee Fest in New York, and she has a great concept for what she's trying to do. But then when you're sharing authenticity, you want to make it authentically. And like when I went to her place, which is ironically out of business, she made it out of an automated pot and out of a pre-scoop package that you would get at the store. And that's like, that's one thing I tell people I pride myself on is not only did I roast it myself, but then I ground it in front of them and then I make it in front of them. And you get that whole experience that you don't get anymore nowadays unless you're in that country. And so those are the things that evolved was I wanted to make it like wine tasting where it's an experience that, we like touching, tasting, seeing, smelling, all that stuff. And that was the whole goal with this is to, appeal the sensory experience as much as possible. And that's why I like to set up the tent over the back of my car. So I'm on street level with people and we can, have face-to-face gathering at that point there. And that's kind of where it came to its fullness then, where I could see people appreciate. That's why I don't do much online business, because I've come to see people want to come see me, and they don't mind standing in line watching things and listening to the stories or whatever it is about the experience. So it's really cool. And that's kind of how the evolution went from just a small little thing to realizing we need to make this a gathering.
Cool. Well, so tell me about the value add that you bring. You bring the beans in from 45 different countries, and then the
Mhm.
value that you add is roasting, grinding, preparing. Like, tell me a little bit about what makes that special.
So the biggest value is, because I'm a one person operation and hope to stay that way. Like, I really don't look to expand other than within myself and grow within that there. Um, I manage my inventory. So a lot of places, almost every place you get coffee from nowadays, the coffee is roasted in a big roaster. Even if it's a small roaster, they put them in these vacuum sealed bags so they can put it on a shelf for however many months, 3 months, a year. For me, I almost promise I probably have never sold a person a bag of coffee that's been roasted more than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Literally, I try to have everything in people's hands within 7 days. Right now, during the slow time, it might be 10 days, but like wine, coffee develops at the beginning. So it takes 5 to 7 days to get the peak flavor. So when I'm selling it to someone at 10 days, they're buying it at peak flavor. And I always ask people too, are you drinking that in the next couple of weeks? Because if you're not, don't get this one, get this. So that's like the big thing is, like, I'm not going to sit there and try to sell someone something that they're not going to be able to enjoy as fresh as possible. And so nobody else does that. I don't use vacuum seal bags. I use simple little tin tie bags, which I personally think makes a difference, because stuff like my Ethiopian and Haitian coffee, there are local roasters that have been doing it far longer than me, and to their credit, far better than me, because they're huge companies. And I have people tell me how much more they like mine. And they'll be like, oh, I get my coffee usually from this place, but yours tastes so much better. And it's just because I'm doing small, fresher batches. And again, I'm not looking to be $1 million company anytime in my lifetime. I have a goal of what I'd like to be at a reasonable income. And the goal then is to serve my customers within that there. So that way, coming from that franchise world, when I first started with Papa John's, their product is not what it is today. The bigger you get, the more you have to make sacrifices to your product. And that's the biggest thing. As a small one person thing, there's no sacrifices with what I do other than my personal time, which even that I don't sacrifice a lot of. I get things done in a 40 to 45 hour work week at the most. And I, give it my best to make it the freshest, experience you can get.
That's one of my gripes with the corporate world, as I expressed to you prior to our starting to record, was exactly that. And while we were talking prior to hitting that little red button, I had observed an extraordinary amount of empathy from you based on your experience with Uber riding, and the way that you talked about profit margin and service, and the care you take to roast your beans and prepare them, and to ensure that the person receiving them is going to get the most out of them. And so, with how thoughtful you are about all of that, I want to ask you a question from the perspective of somebody new, somebody that wants to start a new business, maybe something that'd be appropriate at a farmer's market. Like, in the course of this ramping up to actually launching your business, is there any advice that you would give to people that want to start a business, or want to bring their business out of their basement or garage and into the farmer's market?
And the biggest thing is like, I guess it's cliche, but just do it. Yeah, and that's the thing is so I saw an inspiring story this morning, and one of my biggest things I used to love to say when I used to turn these stores around is no excuses. I had a Puerto Rican stepmother who, no matter what excuse I give to her, she's like, I don't want to hear this. Like, I forget to lock the door because we moved from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm like, oh, we're in Charlotte. We don't have to lock this. I don't want to hear it. You're from New York City. You lock that door. I'm fining you $50. I get so upset about that. But she just was like, well, a Wall Street woman, cross your T's, dot your I's. And again, my mom as well did a great job raising me in the faith and other things. But that was one thing that my stepmom used to be very rigid about, was no excuses. And so that would translate over in the businesses. Find solutions in everything you do. This is why I joke with people. I don't joke. I'm serious with them. They think I'm a political person. Like, I'm not, because politics at the end of the day, a lot of times don't create solutions. And that's the thing that I try to encourage people with their businesses. Put all these thoughts to the side and just find solutions. And that's the big thing in the business. Is a woman today, I read this story about this woman in DC. She's an Uber driver. And I was sharing with a friend who I had this discussion with yesterday. And she basically got tired of Uber continuously taking cuts from her pay, which is exactly why I designed my business, because I saw the writing on the wall that this was not sustainable. What she do in DC, she created her own business where she drives people around for a flat hourly rate. And now she's making more money than she ever, did with Uber, basically. She found a solution. Instead of complaining about how Uber treated her or how society treated her, whatever it was, she went out and created a solution to her situation. And that's what inspired me with the business. And the big thing that I did was I wanted to find something I enjoyed doing. I don't want to do something just for the money, because at that point you just get bored and you stop doing it. This is why when people in the pizza world are like, you ever want to open your own Papa John's or Domino's? And I'd say no, because if I could raise my sales 50%, and I literally would. There were 8 straight weeks where I 100% sales increase over the previous year's sales. God forbid that following year I do $1 less on a corporation. They look at you as a failure, that you're not achieving your goals. I had one of my supervisors wrote me up for missing my goals by $75, even though I had 3 more weeks to make it up, after doubling the profit by 8,000 the week before. And these are the things. So I don't want to be driven by money. And that's the thing I tell people is, first, like they say, do what you love. And then that's the beautiful thing with capitalism in the American way, is then find a way to monetize it and do it respectfully, because that's my thing. I don't want to disrespect the cultures that taught me something of their stuff and turn it into this, watered down American experience either, which we very often can have. And with those things, again, with the experimentation, don't be afraid to spend a couple dollars to experiment. I spent a lot of money doing free events. That's what started me. In my logo, there's a dog with a torch in its mouth. It's a tribute to the church that actually in Jersey that allowed me to do an event on Holy Thursday, St. Dominic's. So it's the dog of St. Dominic. The priest let me just serve coffee to the parishioners, which was my mom's church. And I served 100 people in an hour span. And that's when the light went on, like, I can make this work. Because when you're doing all this cultural technical stuff, that's great, but Ethiopian coffee ceremony takes 45 minutes sometimes, and you don't make money doing that there. But once I saw what I did at that church event, it taught me that, okay, I just served 100 people an hour. Now, if I actually turn this around and start selling it, I can make money X person per hour. And that's literally what I've done since. Is, you do that mathematically, however you feel it needs to fit the business concept. And now I look back 2 years later, I'm like, I never thought I'd be doing the numbers that I'm doing currently. and I just keep growing. Like this year, I tell people I look to grow about 25 to 50% from the previous year's sales. And that's, I just bought another new roaster. I have 4 roasters.
Yeah.
Again, talk about no excuses. When that roaster would go down on me at the beginning and you're making things so fresh, I don't have things sitting on a shelf. So I bought another roaster and another roaster. Now I've got a 4th one, which is actually bigger, only 5 pounds, but it's still now I won't have any more excuses in the future. If something goes wrong, I've put myself in a position to eliminate all the speed bumps that you have starting a new business. And now it's, again, it's not ever smooth sailing, but I don't have the headaches I had when I was first starting a year ago, 2 years ago. So
That's great. Lately I've been working on a phrase that I'm coining, and you kind of reminded me of it. It's something to the effect of money and politics have no place in business or government.
Yep.
And I think that you embody that by being service oriented, both to your customers and to yourself. By buying those extra roasters, you're doing yourself a great service by reducing the amount of brain damage you would have from the roaster going down, and providing that service at your expense to your sellers or to your customer. And of course, we talked about your markups prior to this and how, you were talking about Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee?
Jamaican Blue Mountain, yeah. Yep.
My friend Dave just was here a week ago, and he made me this. He brought the percolator, he brought the French press, and like, he's a 1 cup of coffee guy. I go by volume. But he's going to come buy 1,000,000 pounds from you, I'm sure, because he's looking for it. He brought it back from Jamaica.
Nice.
So he'll be excited to know there's good Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee here. I just want to express appreciation for the way that you go about doing your business, because I can tell in our conversation you're service oriented. So now that I'm rambling, I want to start wrapping up.
No worries.
So Let me ask you, where can people buy your coffee?
So I always have my website set up just for presence, thetraveling-shepherd.com. I'm the only traveling shepherd in the US pretty much, which
I've lost you. Can you hear me?
captured a lot of what I do. But
Thanks.
otherwise, Warrenton Farmers Market, beginning April 23rd, it'll be 8 to 12 on Main Street. This week will be the last week I'll be there 9 to 12. Because next week I'm going to Coffee Fest in Boston to try to find some new coffee beans. So I won't be around for that final week. And then I'm all over Northern Virginia. I try to do a straight line: Alexandria, Annandale, Reston, Herndon, and Warrenton. Those are my 4 days a week. But I deliver to everybody's doorstep free in the area. I've even started, shipping for free here in Virginia to people that are like with Warrenton. There's a lot of people that come 20 minutes away that are too far to service. And so I'll put it in the mail for free for them, just to accommodate my customers and, keep them in service there. And that's always the best way to find me there.
Cool. Do you have any social media or a way to follow you?
I don't do a lot on social media. I'm just on Instagram and Facebook. Both are the Traveling Shepherd Coffee Company. And so, again, easy to find. I'm the only one out there. And Warrenton Farmers Market will tag me quite often in their setup as well. So
Cool. Well, tell you what, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait to drink 14 cups of your coffee in one sitting. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you at the farmers market. So everybody check out thetraveling-shepherd.com. There's information on, where he'll be and when. And Brandon will be in Warrenton next week, you said?
yeah, well, this Saturday is my
This
last
Saturday?
day out there, and
This
last
Saturday.
day of Vietnamese hot cocoa too for the season. And then I'll take off the next week, and Easter Sunday week we won't have a market to give everyone a rest. And then April 23rd we're back out on Main Street with a full market season restart.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Tyler. We'll talk soon. Take care.